Hey, I think I have this figured out now. It took me a few minutes, but I'm pretty sure that I'm ready to go. So, this is an 18 by 24 canvas that I've already gessoed, and you can see I just take mine just to the edge. I don't go wrap around because I like to be able to, hang on to it. If this is wet and I need to hang it up and put another one on, I don't have to let this just sit. I can grab it. So what we're going to do is I've got the drawing on. There's a couple of corrections I need to fix, and I'll show you how I do that. Get this locked down. Now this is my my palette, my color selection, and what I've got here is Naples Yellow Deep, Raw Sienna, Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Orange, Vermilion, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber. This is that indigo blue. This is that really super dark blue that I use to mix with this burnt umber to make a really nice black. Cobalt, dioxazine purple. This is, I gotta stop and think, this is raw sienna. Yellow, cadmium yellow light. That's a Mars black, and I'll explain something about that a little later. Titanium white. White comes in oil paints, comes in three different transparencies. Titanium white is called opaque. It's very dense. There's a lot of pigment in it. And then you go to the, let's see, is it the flake white? Isn't that terrible? I have to stop and think about that. Flake white is very transparent, so it's very thin. What's the middle one? I can't think of it right now. Anyway, this is an unbleached titanium, and I like, it's a very dense, there's a lot of pigment in this paint, and I like to mix that once in a while just to give a little body to some of my other paints that I mix. Oil paints can be either a transparent color or an opaque, and they all vary just a little bit, and you'll learn that as you go along, which are which, and I'll do a discussion later on about the actual paints. In this little baby food jar, and these are great, if you can still find baby food jars, that's great, because these are wonderful to mix a little solvents in. What I do when I don't use just straight linseed oil. I use 3-part, well, it's 1 part odorless paint thinner, 1 part linseed oil, and 1 part Damar varnish. And I kind of stir it up with the handle of a little one there. What that does is I mix that with my paint, and it gives it a little glossy, but it also helps it to dry just a little bit faster, rather than just straight linseed oil. Usually you try not to use any oils at all on your very first layer, because you want the first layer to dry matte so that the next layer will stick to it better. If your first oil layer of paint is too oily or shiny when it dries, your next layer is not going to stick to it. So make sure that it's kind of matte and dry. But this is a nice, like a glue almost. So it's all right if it looks a little shiny when it's dry, but it's tacky when it dries, so it's sticky. Now, what I'm going to do is, and I have the drawing on here, and this was used from when I take the original photo. I'll try not to move this thing too fast so it doesn't make people's eyes go crazy. Let's see if I can find my original photo. This is the photo she wanted. This is the one that the customer liked the best. So I've got this transferred on here. But she wants his head in this position because she wants this star and this snip to show. I kind of have it turned a little bit, but I'm going to try and turn it a little bit more, and I'll show you how to make that correction maybe later on. I don't know how much power this thing has, but I'll show you a little later on how I can adjust that and correct and turn that head. But first, what I want to do is just show you how we get the background on. She wants it kind of soft and loose, but she wants to indicate that there's a state fair going on. So I'm kind of still debating how I want to do that. So I'm not going to worry about details right now because I want to see what colors I want to use. And we have a black horse. We want a state fair background. I'm going to try not to use too much blue in the background. And I have to stop and think because really I haven't thought about how I wanted to do the background. Well, let's do something kind of neutral just to get you started. I'm going to pick one of my wide brushes. Let's see, how wide do I want to go on that? Let's use this one. These brushes are for oils or acrylics. You don't want to use watercolor brushes on oil paints because they don't have enough spring. You want a brush that has a good spring to it, but you don't want it bristly. They make a hog bristle, and I don't like the hog bristle because it's too rough. The bristles are too heavy and coarse. But this has a nice spring to it. So I'll show you how I get started. Since I want to do kind of a neutral background, first I'm going to kind of get in where I want that horizon line to be. Now, here's my picture. The photograph, if you look at where the back of the arena is, it's back here. So what I'm looking at is this line here as being the horizon line. I don't think I want mine to go up quite that high. I think I want it to go a little bit lower. The lower the horizon line, the lower you would appear as the viewer. Now let's see if I can grab my little friend here to help show you how we do that. Okay, I'm going to turn him like this. Now I'm going to hold this horse straight up here. This would be straight on, your eye level with the center of the horse. Now, if I lower the horizon line, you're going to get more of this kind of look from the horse. If I raise the horizon line, you're going to be looking down on him. So decide, when you have a drawing like this, kind of where that needs to be. So right now I don't want to put it in the intersection. So I'm going to go just below. You don't really want to ever put a line in a corner if you can. So my little friend, you just go stand right here and just keep an eye on things. Don't fall over. Well, I don't want you to put you right there, or you will fall over. Just be there. Okay, you're good. All right. Now, I'm going to dip a little in this, just a little. Kind of get it throughout the bristles. I mean, kind of rearrange this so it's not glaring too much. All right. Let's see. I want it dark at the top. And we're going to go a little dark at the top. So I'm going to grab my burnt umber and my little bit of, see how that makes that blackish gray almost? I want a little color in there, so I'll go for my burnt sienna. When a burnt sienna, when it's all by itself, it actually can be a little pinkish. If you add white to it, it'll turn kind of pink on you. So I like to throw in a little bit of cad orange, not much, just a little tiny bit. See how that makes that brown kind of a warm brown or a bright brown, not a pink brown. And this is where you start. Don't be afraid to push hard. That's a little thin. Push hard. Grab a little more. I'm going to try and push this off to the side so that it gets thickened up a little bit. A little bit of that. And I'm going to lighten that. Now I'm going to use the unbleached titanium to lighten it. Now see how that lightened that up? Now I can work this back over here. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm going to go a little lighter, go a little white in a little of that. And when it starts to get chalky like that, where it turns to a gray, go back for your color, throw in a little color in that. There we go. Now, Bob Ross, I learned this from Bob Ross. You make your little X's. What that does is it stirs the paint as you go. Don't worry about those little things. I'll show you how we fix those. Now, the further down I go, I want to lighten it a little bit. So, I love cobalt. Well, I'm going to put a little cobalt in white into that. So that there, see how nice that is? The closer we get to the horse, we kind of put a little color a little closer to him. I'll show you how we fix these ears, because I'm going to do a little mop up, a little clean up around there. This is most likely not going to be the only sky that it will have. This will probably change. Yeah, in fact, I know it'll change as we go. This is just a first coat. First coat kind of helps you get a feel of the mood. You know, I might not like this when I'm done. I'm going to go a little bluer the further to the left I go. So I'll grab a little of that really dark indigo back into my cobalt and then back into this dark mess here. Let's get this corner. And I'm not worried. I just make sure you go ahead and push. Make sure this is, you know, got your painting in there nice and secure. Don't be afraid to push the paint on. I don't want to see any little no limpy stuff or wimpy stuff. Little muscle into it. That paint to come out of that brush. You can move this. That'll help. Like that. Put that back. A little more blue, a little more white. And you notice we don't scoop because it's not ice cream. Don't scoop. Go in here and just get a little paw at it. And that'll kind of control how much you're grabbing. And you don't waste paint that way. See? Make sure that you go thumb up, thumb down if you're having to. I'll do it. This is my super slow motion. You can see that. See, I'm turning that. So I want, this is what I'm looking for. X's. Not none of this. Or you're going to end up with everything going one direction. You got to turn that wrist over. A little more white. Let's brighten it up a little bit. See how I just kind of pushing into that just a little bit?